Welcome to our Mystery Manor volunteer training that we're doing online. We've been planning to try this new way of doing training. We want to see how this works for us. In this, we're going to be going through our purpose for our Wednesday night midweek in the summer. We're going to be talking about the format and all the details you need to know about that and cleanup and working with our kids here at Via Church. And so those are really the four things. This training will be under 15 minutes, so please do stick with because we're going to have some real important stuff we cover. First, in our purpose, we want to help kids grow in faith and relationships, and we're going to run everything through those filters because we never know what moments are significant. I still get Facebook messages from some of the first kids 12 years ago that are, we're in my kids' church and are young adults now and are texting me and Facebooking me and saying, man, I remember when you said this, and I remember thinking, I have no idea when I said that. So we never know what moments are significant. We never know what a child's needs are. Another purpose, we really want to give kids more leaders and not more lessons. That has really become a focus of ours in this last little while, so we thank you for stepping in during this summer, and we will unapologetically hope that you stick with us even in the fall and find a new place to get involved in the lives of these kids, because this is what the church has been tasked with, is passing on faith to the next generation and to reaching out to everyone, whether or not they're in the next generation. So some wins of how we know that we are on the right track. Here are some things that can show that. First, just connection between kids, parents, or leaders. When you sense that kind of that good feeling of these kids are having fun, or they're getting to know other kids better, or maybe they're getting to know me better, whatever it is, and by me I mean you. A second, meaningful conversation with a kid. That's important, and we also want to increase Bible knowledge and application. So those are the purposes of what we are doing. Here's the format of how we're going to do it. First, we're going to need you here at 6:25 on Wednesday night, and that means in the kids' auditorium. And believe it or not, it's one of the most important tasks that you have as a leader, is just being on time. Then at 6:30, we're going to do group instruction and prayer together, and that's where you're going to get everything you need to know about that night's specific activities and things like that. We make it pretty easy where you don't have to have lots of memorized storytelling or any of that. We handle all of that in the large group, but make sure that you're there so that you know what you're doing. Then at 6:45, we'll begin some activities with those kids who are early arrivers. So let's remember a few things in that. You're a leader when the first kid arrives. And of course, I know we're going to have some kids in there just because their parents are there for the parent meeting, but you know what I mean. At 6:45, that's when we begin, not 7 or 7:05. So we want to be on and ready to go then. We want to welcome the kids by name, and they'll be wearing name tags. We want to help them connect with other kids in the group. Many kids' parents are bringing them just for this, for the purpose of them finding some friends because they haven't maybe made a connection yet. If they're the first to arrive, help them to engage in an activity until more kids arrive, and then follow up with the kid to make sure that they've connected if you notice that they were one that was struggling to connect. And then the table layout, we're going to have 4 different groups of tables for 4 different age groups, and you'll be assigned to one specific age group for the whole summer, and that's where you'll be doing those early arriver activities. Second, we want to talk about large group. That's where we move to once it's time to kind of begin the evening after those early arriver activities. It's at 7:05, we'll move to large group, and that's just the kids will move to the section that correlates with their tables. So we'll have 4 sections of chairs, just like we'll have 4 groups of tables. And we're going to need your help with crowd control a little bit during that time, just making sure that some of the kids who are maybe really excited about not being in school for the summer still understand that there's structure and learning that's happening for many of the kids in there, especially up front. We're going to need you to help keep an eye on that because kids up front are often missed through this process of watching for that. And how you're going to handle that is you're going to just go to a child who's maybe being disruptive, and first you'll say, hey, I need you to listen. Do you understand? You need to kind of get an agreement from them. So you have to say, do you understand? And when they say yes or okay, then you know you have a deal. Otherwise, it's just a suggestion. The second time you're going to say, all right, now we've already talked about this. We talked about how we need to listen so that others can hear as well. If I have to talk to you about it again, I'm going to move you. Do you understand? And then that third time, if you have to go to them again, move them. The mysteries that we're going to cover this summer are right there on your screen now. We're going to talk about big things like, is God real? What's the big deal about the Bible? Is God really in control when bad things happen? Is heaven real? That's pretty cool when you think about it. Then one of the nights where we don't actually have any curriculum type things happens on August 5th, and that's race night. I want to give you a little sneak peek here at what our large group is going to look like during the story time. We're actually going to use video this year for story, and we're going to do a lot of live drama to engage these mysteries all throughout large group. Take a look.
May 5th. When I was a young boy, I sometimes wondered if God was real. I couldn't see him, but I knew there must be some explanation for this world we live in and how it came to be. I began to investigate the matter, and my journey took me back to the beginning of time, Genesis 1. Before time began, there was nothing. Not even the sun and moon were around. It was a big bunch of emptiness, but God was there.
So you can see how neat that's all going to be. It's very well done. It's going to keep the kids very engaged. And the mysteries that Great Grandpa Piff Paff's Manor are putting together are really going to help our kids. So thanks for being there for that part. Then after large group, we're going to move into our breakout groups. And this is really twofold. There's an application activity that lasts about 10 or 15 minutes that you'll lead with the other people that help in your age group. And then there's a project after that. And this year we're building an airplane first and a boat second. And at the end, they will race those boats on August 5th, like I mentioned already. Help kids be inclusive of others in the group during this time. Don't let them just stick with only, their two friends and that's it. We really want to try to increase relationships like we talked about. Encourage kids to help one another. Especially after their project is done, have them even reach out to the younger kids if you're in one of the older groups and help some of the kindergartners, because sometimes we just don't have enough leaders to help to give all of the kindergartners the attention they need. Then when it's all done, there's some acceptable activities that we want to talk through and some unacceptable ones. We're not going to have kids upstairs because our occupancy is not large enough to allow for the number of kids that we have on Wednesday nights. So they need to stay on the main floor of the kids' auditorium only, as well as not going on the stage and not running around the room, and they do need to stay in the room. So some things that are good, they can sit at the chairs and kind of hang out a little bit with one another. Maybe you want to pull out some of the early arriver activity stuff again, and they can play some of that if they didn't get enough time. Maybe they were a kid that came right at 7 and they didn't even get to do it. We're also going to have snack time during that time, so they're going to be able to talk and hang out over a little snack. Also, we want to just ask you during this whole section of breakout group, please make sure that the kids are first and the project is second. Okay, so even though you're working on the project and helping them, you're thinking about the intentional conversations you want to have with kids. Then at the end, the last section here of the evening will be cleanup. We're going to have kids with plastic baggies to keep their project parts together. These are real important. Things get mixed up very easily, and kids can't tell their project next week just by the way that they painted it, even though it seems like they would be able to. So be sure kids' names are written on the bottom of their project and their baggie. That's important. Projects need to remain at the church, so kids can't take them home. And then please clean up the paint right away if paint gets spilled at all in this process. But then other things, we're going to ask you to kind of wait on things that can wait. What we mean by that is don't sacrifice relationship building time with kids for the purpose of cleanup. Now, if you're sensing that is just kind of the next step of where things are at, that's fine. Go ahead and you can begin cleanup a little early or something. But we just want you to be intentional about that time with the kids. This is why we have put this whole thing together. Then offer to help others clean up their area once your area is clean, please. Now, a few things about working with kids. These are real important. First, safety. Rule of 3 is important. It means that at no point is an adult alone with a kid, where we can't see them. So if you're just walking a kid toward the restroom, that's okay. If you're in the room talking with a kid, that's okay. But you're not going to go anywhere with two kids, like downstairs to get something or outside or any of that sort of thing. You need to be a rule of 3. It should be 2 adults and the kid, or 2 kids and an adult in every situation. Then, if you have not filled out one of our safeguarding applications, we're going to ask you please to make sure that you pick one of those up at the kids auditorium, the early childhood area, or the info center this weekend while you're here for service. Make sure you get that filled out and turned right back into us. You can also email Sherry or myself. You can get our email addresses on the website. It's best to email Sherry. She's the one that's going to have the ability to send you that easiest. Then bathroom breaks. We want to talk about those just a little bit. First, we want bathroom breaks to happen before or after the Bible talk time and also response. When things get serious, kids tend to start to want to get somewhere else. Maybe God begins to work on them, and we just want to make sure that they're there for that. Now, if they're real little and you need to let them use the restroom, that's fine. Kids must be escorted to the restroom after check-in, so we don't let kids just go to the bathroom and go through the cafe. We need to escort them, and then you can either hold the door open or just stand outside, whatever you want to do. Send girls in pairs when possible and boys alone when possible. That prevents trouble. Ask about Kids Week. So a lot of times people will say to me, I don't know how to talk to a kid. Well, just talk about their week a little bit. What'd you do this week? Did you do anything super fun? Tell me about your family. Do you have any pets? How many brothers and sisters do you have? And then even their fears or their questions about God, especially as we're dealing with Mystery Manor stuff. And then talk about how kids are planning to apply the lesson, especially after the Bible time. That's a really good question to talk about. But you wouldn't say, how are you planning to apply the lesson? What you'd really want to do is say, tell me what really stood out to you tonight. What part was your favorite part? Tell me about what you thought was the neatest thing that you learned tonight. Tell me something you didn't know before tonight, okay? So that's the whole thing. We're going to look forward to seeing you this Wednesday night at 6:25. So please be in prayer for what's going to be happening. We really pray that that this is meaningful work in the lives of these kids that will last them a lifetime. Thanks for taking a look at this. Feel free to stop in tomorrow at the Kids Auditorium if you have any questions tomorrow or Sunday. Or you can also email me and find my email address online. Thanks.